The Hospitalitarian podcast focuses on conversations with forward-thinking people who make the community of New York State hospitality compelling and noteworthy. If it's happening in food, beverage, or agriculture in New York, we are digging in. Welcome to episode 1 of the Hospitalitarian podcast. I'm your host, Tim Hardiman. When I started thinking about this podcast, about food, agriculture, and the future of New York State, there was one person who really made sense to begin with. Frank Elias is the founder of Utica Coffee Roasting Company, and for more than 20 years, he's been building one of the most dynamic beverage businesses in the Mohawk Valley. What began as a small Saturday-only coffee shop has grown into a regional roaster, shipping hundreds of thousands of pounds of coffee each year, while staying deeply rooted in their community. So in this conversation, we're going to talk about growth, about staying inspired decades into a business's evolution, and about what it means to operate locally in a global system. We dig into coffee culture in Europe, supply chains, climate change, talent and labor, and why consistency and curiosity still matter. This episode sets the tone for the Hospitalitarian. Thoughtful, grounded conversations about food, place, and the people building what comes next. Here's my conversation with Frank Elias of Utica Coffee Roasting Company.
Cheers.
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 Thanks for coming.
Oh, it's a pleasure being here. It's an honor to be here, Tim.
So, welcome to episode 1 of the Hospitalitarian podcast.
Nice.
I can't even, I couldn't fathom how to start a podcast like this that is a little bit of a retrospective of me, but more of a look forward on the Mohawk Valley, New York State, and the hospitality scene there. I couldn't start this podcast without talking to my pal Frank Elias.
It's an honor, brother. From
Utica Coffee. And speaking of Utica, we are coming at you live from the west side, Bag Square. The east side of Bag Square.
We are home.
Yeah, not too far away from where we figured all this out. So I'm going to start off the conversation the same way that I plan to start off this podcast going forward. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit of an icebreaker, and then we'll get into it. So 3 questions. The first one is, what are you reading?
Honestly, Tim, you got me. I haven't been reading too many books as of lately. I am watching YouTube. I'm learning a lot through video these days, to be honest with you, right? Do I read? Absolutely. Electronically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Books.
Well, I think that reading can be, now in this day and age, it can be also audio or video.
Right, right. So my information's coming in from different ways, and I'm somewhat, I don't know, sad to say, I'm not doing a lot of books.
Do you partake of a lot of podcasts?
Yeah. YouTube is pretty much my go-to channel for a lot of things. It gets you on the algorithms sometimes, and you get lost in those. But I think for meaningful content, I watch a lot of video. Cool. Right.
What are you listening to?
Tunes wise?
Tunes, or so the idea is like
all over the map on that one, man.
But right now, right now, what?
You know what? As we left,
I used to be like, what's in your tape deck?
Dave Matthews. Dave Matthews. This morning is what we were listening to.
Old stuff or new stuff?
All over the map. For the past couple of years, Utica Coffee has had almost like a company outing at the Dave Matthews shows that come to Saratoga every year.
Or Saratoga.
Right. So Saratoga, for the past 4 or 5 years, we've gone out for both nights.
Awesome.
And
take the whole team?
Yeah. Whoever wants to go.
Very cool.
And we rent an Airbnb.
A big one.
Yeah. And everybody's welcome. Sometimes we too many visitors than are what allowed
in the Airbnb.
Yeah, but it's all good, all respectful, and we have a good time.
That is cool, and I think that's exactly what I want this question to flesh out. Like a cool story. Third question is, what's today, right now, what's inspiring you?
The business of Utica Coffee is inspiring me as we develop our business, as you've seen today, Water Street.
Yeah.
It inspires me. What that's becoming, inspiring to me.
That is the greatest thing I could ever hear you say as an entrepreneur, because, and it would be a great segue to like a little background here. How many years have you been in business at Utica Coffee?
20 years.
20 years.
This is 20
You are
years.
at 20 years, and you, as the founder and you know, CEO or whatever you call yourself, the head honcho, can still say that the business is inspiring to you?
It is.
That's pretty remarkable, because I know, having known you 20 years ago.
Because it's constant change.
Sure. Yeah. You never allow things to be static. Break me out, like, in a couple of sentences, tell me the growth from year one and what it was, whether it's, you know, sales or staffing, or I know you know these numbers, sales, employees, you know, in the first year to sales employees today, you know, just like, how much has this business grown?
From zero to something.
Yeah.
And looking back, you're right. You know what? You look back on it, zero sales, with a concept, with an idea for your downtown, right? And then
Open Saturdays.
only, because that's the only day that.
What was it,
like,
8 to noon? 7 to noon?
10 till 2.
10?
It was 10 till 2. It was 10 till 2. I tried all kinds of hours, but that's the one that worked, right? Was I probably there at 8? Sure, I probably was. But those are the hours that worked. And then over time, you work into it. I still say to this day, Tim, that when your business, Taylor & Cook, first came to that neighborhood, that's when the tide started turning. The weights started going in balance of the good and the revitalization of our downtown district.
Well, we had,
as we know it.
We had two interesting concepts that both were, you know,
next door to one another.
Right place, right time. Mm-hmm. And we had the right block. Most people didn't believe it.
No.
But we did have the right block.
When you and Taylor and Cook came to town, that's when people started to believe it.
Yeah.
That's when the
That's when you opened more than Saturdays.
Yes, a little bit, and even then it was a test of faith.
Sure.
Because you had not been opened during those hours before.
Yeah. One question. So that first year, what do you wager? How many pounds of coffee do you wager you roasted in that first year yourself on that little machine that was in the back of the cafe?
Okay, my first delivery was 3 skids of beans, and I want to say it was probably 4, 5, 6 bags for. So I'm going to say my first delivery was 18 bags.
18 bags, and that, what is that in poundage?
Figure it's about 2,500 pounds.
2,500 pounds, and. Do you think that was your delivery for the year, or did you do it again that first year?
No, it was my delivery probably for the first 2 years.
Okay. So let's say the first year. So you had those beans for a while. Let's say you roasted 10,000 pounds the first year.
Sure.
Of that,
no,
that first delivery.
It was definitely not. It was way slower going.
So you roasted 5,000 pounds in your first year. What'd you roast in 2025? You know, how many pounds ballpark?
500,000 pounds.
That's growth.
Yeah.
And whatever, I'm not very good at math, but if you did that, how many pounds, right? Mm-hmm. Divided by 20 years.
That's your growth.
That's remarkable.
That is remarkable.
What you have built is a business that is part of the revitalization of Utica, but has a significant internet presence that, you know, reaches far beyond that, and hence the poundage that you just referenced. That is awesome.
It really is.
It really, the growth is awesome.
When you look back, it is. When you're looking forward on continuous improvement process.
You set a high bar. Yeah.
And those things that continue to excite you.
Yeah.
you're looking forward. And that excitement is continuing to look forward. I don't want to say continuous growth like that.
Sure.
But growth in many other ways.
You haven't ever said that, this is where I wanted to be or this is where I want to be, because I feel like, and it is referenced in the design of one of your two retail cafes, how it's constantly changing. Floor plan's changing, the seating's changing, the lighting's changing, the paint is changing. Mm-hmm. I'm the kind of guy that sort of change, I wouldn't say it upsets me, but that's more than I want to find this like rhythm of familiarity and muscle memory, and I want to ride that out so that I can focus on. But our crafts are very different. Mm-hmm. But I want to focus on consistency. There is significant consistency, but your business is ever evolving. And it has to be. It's one part manufacturing and it's one part.
It's continuous process improvement.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. From my perspective, to not change makes me unsettled.
Sure.
Because I can always try to improve or do something better, and I don't know. It's the experimentation of that too. Right, and playing that out.
Very cool.
It's fun.
When you talk, so like you evolve this business, there is a lot of research and development, and I think that I very often use the phrase R&D in a very tongue-in-cheek way, because it generally means that I'm having a good time. But the reality of it is that stuff is so important to the evolution of a business. If you're not paying attention to what's happening both in your local climate and your world climate,
right.
Then your business is not going to evolve in the way that will attract new attention. And so I know that you do research and development
all the time.
And you just got back from Italy last week, or
we did.
And you're
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, right?
Okay. So, and this is like your second trip in as many years to Italy, and you have.
Oh, we're going back.
Both you and your wife have Italian heritage. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, coffee is your life. We could have a whole podcast on your visits to Italy and everything, but I want to understand a little bit about what you feel about Italian coffee, and right now, having because you've been researching and developing in Italy for the last 2 trips, and you're going back, and maybe it doesn't have everything to do with coffee, but it's got to have something. So I want to know, and we haven't even talked about this, so it's not a rehearsed question. I'm genuinely interested to know how your trips to Italy have affected the progress and the coffee at Utica Coffee.
All right, you saw a little bit of it this morning.
I did,
when you visited
we walked through the warehouse
over at Water Street. Well, we had a shot of espresso right before we went.
A very nice shot
through that tour. We did. We had a very nice shot of espresso, and that is continuous process improvement. That is R&D. That is also a result of our visit to Italy, where we go to the cafes, and everybody goes to the cafes. Sure. It's a culture. Coffee is a culture phenomenon in Italy, and experiencing that not just once but several times over, and that's our repeated trips to Italy, and we are going back again, sure. But that coffee culture is single shots of espresso, drinking it black, without milk, without sugar, following the rituals of that Italian culture. You learn things, and coming back, what do we want to develop? And the espresso is on my mind, and that also takes into consideration all of the other things that are happening globally, right? And we said it. What do you think about the espresso? Excellent espresso, but I would tweak it a little bit more.
Okay.
Right. That's and how I would tweak it a little bit more. Maybe I'd put a little bit more Brazil in it. Bring bring down the brightness, bring it bright. But right now, within global trade, Brazil's a coffee that roasters have been shying away from. So that espresso this morning was a Brazil-less espresso.
Okay, and I guess that is an interesting, because what's available shapes where you're heading, and it shapes the flavors, and so is Italy just as affected by the global? So is the United States more affected coffee-wise than, say, a European country in this global coffee market? And
good question, because in different ways, yes.
Yeah.
Right? In different ways, yes.
Because none of us grow coffee. We have to rely on, none of us, meaning the United States or Europe,
right?
Really. You have to essentially be south of the equator to grow it successfully. Is that reasonable?
The equator, right?
You got to be on either side of it.
Right.
Okay. Close to it.
Yes, but proximity of Europe, North America, supply chains, and that is something that is having an impact on all of coffee, on trade right now.
Yeah.
And it's not just tariffs like you might hear in the news, but it's supply chain disruptions on that side of the world. East side of Africa, you've got pirates off the coast, which are having an impact on trade through the Suez Canal, and boats are coming around the south of Africa to avoid that.
Right.
So supply chain disruptions, geopolitical, are having an impact on coffee as well as all kinds of
for sure trade. But you have a very tangible perspective of this.
You're seeing it
when you're in the coffee market.
Sure you do.
You have to pay attention to these things more acutely than I do.
It's our business.
Right. You can't get what you need locally, so
That's
you
correct.
have to be.
Right.
And now you're
you
buying.
Have to pay attention.
Right, and now you're buying in a quantity that
it matters.
You're paying attention.
It matters. And consistency of supply and quality is important to our customer, right?
Right.
And managing that.
They don't necessarily, I shouldn't say that they don't care, but they shouldn't know that tariffs or trade or supply chain or climate change is affecting the market, because you should be delivering a product that is consistently good. Right.
And do keep in mind, it's a commodity. It's an agricultural product.
Sure.
And it is going to change year to year, crop season to crop season. So
vintage to vintage.
Yeah. So there are changes that naturally occur, but you try to keep those changes to a minimum, consistency and quality high for your customers, and you have to manage that. Even and global supply chain disruptions or the frictions within those systems is having an impact on coffee right now.
Wild. Wild, because when the first thing I think about having a conversation with you is just talking about things that are local. You're my neighbor, you're my pal, but I almost could bust into a line from the Erie Canal song there, but I won't. And I think that when we're going to talk, we're going to be talking about things that are happening locally, but your business is so globally affected.
It sure
that is wild. Yeah. And I know these things, but I don't think about them. I think about things because I look at your business from a customer's standpoint. That is wild to me.
And tariffs this past year have had a pretty significant impact on our business too. And they will continue to have a significant impact on our business, even though many of the tariffs have been slowed, stopped.
Yeah.
At this point.
There's another part of your business that it's probably not as fun to talk about, and you might not want me to ask you this question, but I will anyways. Like, there's a lot of paper and plastic involved in coffee today, in American coffee. And I don't think that that's your design, but it is part of how you have to be, because it's such a make and take sort of thing. I suspect very different from what you alluded to. Single shot of espresso in Italy. Coffee is enjoyed, and I'm sure people walk with a cup of coffee in Italy, but coffee, it is so rare that you go into a coffee shop these days and get coffee in China.
I got to tell you, though,
you have to ask for it in a mug.
If you think about other cultures, and do they really walk around with mugs like we do? No. Right? And that's a unique American culture.
Uniquely American in the way that they drink their coffee.
Yeah.
Right? Because most coffee in the United States is
right, and you see it in the U.S. You got a big
giant
cup, right?
Vats of coffee in paper cups, right? And it might even be pretty damn good coffee in that paper cup. It probably is.
I'm sure.
The quality of coffee in nationwide has increased so much, but it's very movable. So these tariffs affect you not just in the beans, but I mean, I know for a fact that you go through a lot of paper products, and
we do. That's our culture.
Yeah,
right.
You have to. I mean, you could try and serve it all in mugs, but you'd do a lot less business, wouldn't you?
Tim, think about this. Prior to COVID, remember when we had bring in a mug, get a buck off?
Yep.
COVID kind of changed a lot of that.
yeah, you can't be passing those.
The sustainability thing during that time period kind of got moved a certain notch to the left or to the right, whichever way you want to go.
We did tremendous damage to the earth during COVID, not just in coffee shops.
A lot of that has not changed.
No, it hasn't. We're tremendously disposable society. Right? Yeah.
The whole sustainability thing is not as important to many people as it has been at different times.
Totally. And drinking coffee while seated, enjoying coffee in from a glass or a china is a very ritualistic and enjoyable practice. It's not unlike drinking a glass of wine or a nice beer on a warm day, but coffee has become this movable, quick. There's so much to it. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, but it's so movable, and I hadn't even really thought about that. And when all the paper and plastic and it's wild.
So you see Water Street again, right?
Yeah, Water Street being the home base of your company, Water Street here in Bag Square.
That's our HQ,
in Utica, New York.
Right? The retail cafe that I kind of gave you a perspective of, right? The location, the spot. That is the concept I really want to bring home.
No paper cups.
Yes, absolutely.
No paper cups.
Yep. And
you're going to come in here and enjoy it.
That's why you drank out of an espresso cup today, right?
But now I'm seeing your concept of this.
Right?
This is
no paper.
Right. If you want paper, go over there. We can hook you up and you can be on your way. But this is a place that's
the whole concept of that.
This is a place that's meant to enjoy the coffee as much as the surroundings. I mean, you purchased one of arguably the most historic buildings in Utica with the coolest story. That's a whole nother podcast in and of itself, that building, I'd say. And the growth that you have achieved has a lot to do with the space that you were able to acquire and grow into. And I mean, you could grow and grow and grow. And that's the one thing. So you recognize.
That's why I'm still inspired.
Yeah.
I see where the potential
because
is.
You've allowed yourself the runway to do that. You've never had four walls that confine you. And that is, or your brand. And I appreciate the hell out of that. It's remarkable what a locally minded, it's remarkable how a locally minded business, how global it can be, and like the ability to
a global local.
Totally, it's very interesting. Coffee, it has to be a global business, and yet you keep it very.
It is a global local.
You keep it very Utica centric here in. I'm just so damn proud to be a part of that.
And that's our culture, right? That's our heritage. And this is the culture we're creating here with what we're doing.
What do you see in the next, so you've been at it 20 years. How many phases of Utica Coffee, like grand phases, because you could say you're in phase 87, but like in those 20 years, are you in phase 3 or 4? Do you look at it like that? Or chapters?
I don't know. It's a good question, and I don't know how to measure it. Because if you were to break it off into chunks, sure, you could probably go, you're right, the early years, the formative years, the developing years.
Yeah.
But then that right, the product, the brand life cycle, the product life cycle.
Sure.
I don't know if I want to put myself in that box just yet, right? Because there's a couple chapters ahead of us.
Sure, you don't want to be too retrospective, I suppose, but I can't help that because of the growth that you've achieved.
Right. So formative years, brand development, right? Sales development, people development, community development all along, values driven. The phases of it can continue to go on as long as your values remain the same, right? Mm-hmm. So that wheel keeps on turning.
You have a mission, you stick to it. If your mission is the same, 20 years later, then those values that you speak of,
right? You're still there.
That's what will allow you to be creative. That's what will allow you to be inspired.
Yeah.
I'm wicked proud for that, and for you and your brand, and you and Heather, and the growth that you guys have seen.
Jones Family Farm is a farmstead creamery producing fine cheeses for over 2 decades in the Mohawk Valley. Honestly, I'll put their goat's milk feta up against the best of the best Greek fetas. And if you make a cheesecake and you aren't using their New York creme, you're really missing the boat. Find them on their socials, on their website, anotherjonesfamilyfarm.com. Don't forget to sign up for Susie's newsletters.
Let's talk about distribution, because, at the heart of Utica Coffee, you're a roaster. Mm-hmm. That's
we're a local
nexus.
Coffee roaster.
That is the bulk of your business. And without the quality roast that you put out, you wouldn't have any of the ancillary products and services that you do. So distribution, tell me what it looks like in the state of New York. Like how far are you going? Give me some data.
Distribution, a couple ways of distributing product, 3 mainly that I can think of right away. It's your traditional retail.
Yep.
It's your wholesale distribution where your trucks, right? Yep. Your salespeople, which we've got 8 of them, are out on the road distributing, selling, delivering your product. Then you've got online sales and distribution. Those are your 3 main points of distribution, at least for us. Yeah. And then you can break down each of those into branches or subcategories. So retail, you've got your local retail outlets that Utica Coffee owns. Wholesale distribution, you break it down into category of customer. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
And those customers require different service, products, delivery dates, local distribution, convenience, grocery, institutional, colleges, universities, moms and pops, small business. And each one of those categories has its own special, unique needs, right? And then the one that does get me excited is the online sales distribution.
I mean, the sky's the limit.
The sky's the limit from right here. Yeah. And when you say, hey, what inspires you? This is one of the things that does inspire, because I see where that potential is for growth in that. And we're growing a really good runway, a foundation for online sales. And again, go back to Water Street and what's there. Goal, continue to support local, continue to bring on local vendors that can utilize our distribution systems. Supporting supply chains locally, big part of where I see opportunity, but also inspiration,
Sure.
and growth. And I think that's going to be important distribution-wise, and building distribution networks amongst local suppliers as supply chain disruptions may happen globally. Sure. Locally, it's going to be.
You want to have other people
really
distributing your product as well.
We do a good job of it.
Yeah.
And we're developing a good system to distribute that through those three channels.
Okay.
The retail side of it,
Yeah.
but what's becoming much more important is local distribution, final mile, and then also online sales.
Gotcha. It's the potential for growth in your market is pretty remarkable, and
I think it's more than us, though, right? Locally,
Totally.
I think of what you're doing with thinking within a wider geographic scope is what we should do locally, and we should embrace other local suppliers and vendors so that we can work together specifically on supply chains.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole model of a cooperative or a food hub, because the volatility of the universe,
Tim,
the world.
You see it. We got good food here. There's a lot of good food.
Indeed. But the volatility of the world requires you to have to think about, like joining together as far as buying cooperatives or the ability to be able to have a local product but have it distributed, properly. It's impossible to be you can't cover the entire beginning to end of your sale 100% by yourself because you would limit your growth, right? You need to find people that believe in your mission, believe in your product, and can also distribute it further out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And you see the importance of those distribution channels, especially when you think about globally. If supply chains ever did break down, right? You can't get bananas anymore. You can't get certain meats or cheeses, whatever it is, right? For whatever reason. What are your local networks, supply chains? What is the supply there?
Yeah.
Is there a network of suppliers, right? That can bring the food to the people if that were to ever happen? I think that's going to be important for us to think about locally, geographically, as the future unfolds.
I have a far out question. God help us if it ever. Thankfully, in my lifetime, no one will have to ask this question, but you're in a global business of roasting coffee. What if you couldn't source coffee beans anymore?
Correct, right?
Wow.
Right, sure.
What?
And why do you say that's going to happen not in our lifetime? You don't
I pray it's not going to happen in our lifetime.
Right.
Although I hope that you and
climate change is real. Climate change is real.
That's the truth.
We don't know, right?
So you have a business. You employ a lot. How many people do you employ at Utica Coffee?
47.
That is awesome. That is remarkable. And you have a business model. So what would you do if Utica Coffee couldn't source coffee beans? Is there anything?
And continue to employ 47 people.
And I don't think the future is energy drinks but is there anything that
you get diversified?
Well, in other countries there are tea leaves that are dried and brewed into there's coffee. And there's a various.
I go into service real quick.
Well, yes,
right?
but I'm looking
at where your core competencies are.
I'm looking at something
and I build
different,
on
though.
those.
I'm looking at is there anything distinctively North American that can be roasted and fermented and brewed into a drink?
Right, chicory root.
Chicory. Right, we use a little of that in North America, down in the South.
There are other things that alternatives.
Yeah,
substitutes.
You were taking the question in a different way. Like, how will I diversify the business? I'm thinking to myself, is there some other
substitute
substance in the world that could be either roasted, dried, fermented? Because I think of coffee, I think of tea, and those are the two main things. I wonder if in North America, if mushrooms can be dried and taken in a tea, all different varieties of them, from like something like chaga.
Oh, dude, you can think of break
but
down.
But you would be forced to think about shit like that.
Well, sure, we're forced to think about it now because the reality of it is it's kind of happening, right? Think about, whatever it is, coffee substitute, think about how we're consuming that right now. You go into a single serve pod, right? Served, we just talked about it through plastic.
Yeah.
And you're consuming that, and who's to say it has to be coffee? I mean, think about it, sugar, chocolate.
Yeah.
And it's really from a certain perspective, you go back to your supply chain or distribution channel. You're consuming the product through this unique vessel that, right, you either get it through this source or you don't.
Right.
And that's reality, right? And if I were to go only K-Cup, the only way I could brew is through a K-Cup.
God help us.
Right, but then why does it have to be coffee?
Right.
And okay, there's your substitute right there.
Yeah.
And through marketing of just consumer brands,
Sure.
I'm sure somebody's working on it.
Yep.
Right? Think about that.
Yeah. Well, we've got to be, because the world is changing in whether you look at it from a climate standpoint or from a technological standpoint. The world is changing at such a rapid rate that
it's processed food.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah, man.
You can go back to your Italy thing. Was there processed food in Italy? No, not a lot.
I mean, it's there, but it is not as ubiquitous as it is in the United States.
And when, right, cheese processed, right? But there's full disclosure on all that. There's no preservatives in it. And so, cleanliness of that supply chain.
Sure.
Right? The quality of your food all comes back. Right? How healthy are you going to be once somebody's controlling the way you're eating?
Totally.
And the quality of that food, is not the best.
We process everything in the United States, and that's wild. And thank God that there are, still cultures that are somewhat insulated from the processing of everything eaten, But I hope that, when we travel abroad and go to Europe and places farther away, and you see that there are still, the ritual of coffee or the ritual of a meal, it's still really important. Would you like some more wine?
You see me eyeing the bottle.
Frank, that is my job. Quite frankly,
sorry, man.
You should not have had to. Give me that signal. I should have just known.
I'm sorry. It is good wine.
It is good wine.
Because you're talking about all this processed food, and I'm thinking about the wine we're drinking. And
let's not talk about processed food. Let's talk about. I want to come back to the Italian concept, because I don't think I gave you enough time to flesh that out. But I've never been to Italy. Believe me, Melissa reminds me at least monthly that we've never been to Italy. So it's definitely high on our list. I spent some time as a younger guy in France, and it's probably where I learned to do a lot of things in France. I learned to drink wine in France, and I believe I learned to drink coffee in France. Mm-hmm. Have you been to France?
Yep.
Coffee is equally as important in France as it is in Italy, but it's a very different culture, but still very respected. Uh-huh. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
They don't drink as much espresso, though. They do, but I don't think they drink as much as they do in Italy. And that's kind of, what I remember from drinking coffee in France was essentially the Americano. That was how most of what I grew to love was drank, and it was a very unacidic, round, mellow, chocolatey sort of coffee, drank in the form of an Americano, shot with hot water. I felt like this was the late 90s that I was in France. That was how I learned how to drink coffee. Still, what I enjoy the most is a really nice Americano.
So a benchmark winery in the Finger Lakes, Fox Run Vineyards. Get this, they have been producing wines of distinction since 1984. They owe that to incredible terroir, an expertly tended vineyard, and a top-notch cafe. Fox Run is a destination in the Finger Lakes. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, foxrunvineyards.com.
How does French and Italian coffee culture, obviously probably more about Italian since you've visited there recently, but those are the birthplaces of a coffee culture. Am I wrong? Switzerland.
I see where you're coming from with the difference between the Italian, French.
Yeah.
Very different cultures, but it's also the food that goes along, the pairing of it. And while I might like an Italian espresso or even a cappuccino in the morning, I would much prefer a French baguette to go along with it, right? And as opposed to a croissant or something sweet. So difference in coffee culture right now. There's
crusty bread and black coffee is as ubiquitous as it's not ubiquitous. It should be ubiquitous. It's as good as anything gets, in my opinion. Dipping a crusty baguette into a cup of black coffee is remarkable, and it's really
for you,
good.
Tim, it's a Brazil because that's your favorite.
It is, but for I love something sweet. I love a croissant, but the ultimate pairing with coffee, I think you're right, is a crusty baguette. Yeah. No butter, and I love butter. To me, I don't love fat in my coffee. I don't love cream. I don't love butter. I like coffee in its more
I can go for a nice heavier cream in my coffee.
Yeah.
It gives it a different texture.
Sure, it's a time and a place, right?
That is enjoyable. Oh,
cold weather.
Yeah,
you put a real nice heavy cream, and if it's really good dairy, like Stoltzfus or Collins milk, like you can taste it in there. Yeah. So coffee and fat are a very great pairing. I prefer coffee and crusty bread. So that's the Italian, French.
Although they say France right now is kind of like having a renaissance on coffee culture and quality and types of brewing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're following in the direction of the United States?
That's an interesting question.
I mean, is it becoming walkable there? Is coffee becoming walkable in France?
I don't think so. I think it's more in the preparation processes of it. That's an interesting question because if you look at the extraction of an espresso and total dissolved solids and which countries, which regions pour their espresso differently and get different extractions out of it. The American espresso extraction is very different from an Italian or even in other places.
Interesting.
And that's because we're putting milk, sugar in with what we're drinking, and we're drinking in larger amounts versus smaller, more conservative, more sustainable.
Yeah. That shot in Italy is meant to be enjoyed as it's handed to you.
Yes. Right.
Whereas,
and there's your culture.
Yeah.
There's your culture.
I mean, and
that's where you stand right there in the cafe and enjoy not only the coffee but the the surroundings.
I'm going to call myself a liar because I just thought of an affogato, and that is coffee and fat. And there's nothing like better than that. So when I said I don't like fat with my coffee, I was totally bullshitting, because there's nothing better than really good gelato, like we used to make at the Taylor and the Cook, like they still make at the Taylor and the Cook, and a really good shot of espresso. I mean, that is otherworldly good. And then we put a little piece of shortbread there.
Otherworldly good.
Oh yeah, so good. So good. So I call myself out for telling a fib. Frank, this is like just a remarkable chance to catch up and chat about the growth of Utica Coffee and the growth of our neighborhood here in Bag Square. And this conversation is very much for the state of New York. And I don't want to limit it to the Mohawk Valley and Utica, but we are definitely based here, and this is where we've hung our hats. The Mohawk Valley is a prime place to do business, right?
It is.
When you look at all economic and geographic factors, I can't figure out why everybody doesn't realize what a breadbasket this is.
Do you want them to realize what a breadbasket this is?
Yeah, that's the double-edged sword, right? That's the double-edged sword. But for the growth that you've achieved, what a great place to be. I mean, you can head south, east, west from here.
It's a good spot for us, especially for the lifestyle that I live, and the quality of life that we have.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely, it is a wonderful place to be. New York State, and for all the frustrations I feel about this state, sometimes I am remarkably comfortable in our physical and economic setting.
Yeah,
and I'm grateful.
The environment here is good.
It is. There's days that I'm frustrated with it, but it is the environment overall. Good people and proximity to everything wonderful that this state has to offer. And Utica Coffee is showing that spread. Like, you can find it in other markets, Syracuse and Albany, and that's pretty awesome, man. And then, like you said, the limitless possibility of the internet,
online, sure.
But I tend to romanticize more the distribution that you do on the ground, and to wrap up here today. Earlier, when you gave me a tour of your headquarters on Water Street, you said something pretty profound that I'm going to think about for a long time, but is the three things that you look at and how they affect your business. So I want to give you the opportunity to say that if you'd like, because it's pretty remarkable how you have been able to understand the pressures on your business.
Yeah. If you boil down some of the things that you look on the horizon that are of somewhat of a challenge for our business, and I think many of the businesses that are local, Mohawk Valley, upstate New York, I really look at supply chain disruptions. I look at global climate change, and I look at labor, and all of the other factors kind of fall into that for an agricultural business.
Yeah.
Global climate change is real.
Yeah.
It's happening, and it's having an impact on our global business, but also our local business.
Yeah.
You look at supply chain disruptions throughout the world, whatever they might be. It can be tariffs. It can be supply chain disruptions around the east coast of Africa. It can be all kinds of.
Well, you could even loop the climate change and the supply chain together. The weather and catastrophic weather events.
Catastrophic weather
really mess up. They really mess up supply chains.
Yeah, and that's happening. And then
it's happening on the regular.
Labor.
Yeah,
and
labor.
Or should we say talent? Talent.
because labor is hard to find and talent's even harder.
Yeah.
Because talent's something you develop.
And it's the skill set that is available to develop.
Right.
And that's becoming, those three factors are having a profound impact on our business. And if you really think about it, those are the things that I think about and am concerned about when I think about the future of where our businesses are going, where our economy is going.
Talent, supply chain, climate change.
1, 2, 3.
Everybody probably could equate those three things to the health. If they're taking the temperature of their business.
I think about
yours
what your
business is really tangible because you are a global business. But I don't think you need to be as global as coffee to use those three metrics to measure your business and get a pretty good idea.
Right. And if you think, hey, I'm really not impacted by global climate change. Well, think about it. If you are eating food and you're consuming food, the likelihood of the climate disruption on your consumption patterns is probably going to be impacted or probably already has been impacted. And if you don't know it, it's probably even a bigger concern. And so, global climate change, it's real, it's happening, it's having an impact. Supply chain disruptions, labor.
Yeah.
And everything falls into those three for us.
I think that those are three things that we can really pay attention to as we all, look to grow our businesses or our careers or our communities. Those are things we have to pay attention to. I feel like I had a jump on that just because of the decisions that I made in how I source food. I have been very locally minded, and what it yielded is a podcast that is conceptually modeled around our state, which is large geographically compared to, I don't know, probably more than half of the other United States. But we've got everything in New York. And what we don't have, we're really good at getting here. And we have major ports of entry and
everything comes into New York.
Yeah, that's wild. So if we don't grow it in New York, we have a far better chance of getting it. If not New York,
Buffalo.
Right. We have a much better chance of getting it here than other states. That's just plain and simple. So I think that is a real... You couldn't have been a better guest for the first episode of the Hospitalitarian because that's exactly what I want to focus on. The state of New York. Food, beverage, hospitality, agriculture. And you and I have, been on a very similar trajectory. The Tailor and the Cook was 15 years of my life, and Utica Coffee has been 20 years of yours. This was a great place to start. I think that we could sit down again in, a year or two and have equally as dynamic of a conversation because I know your business is going to continue to evolve.
A week or two, we could have another
for sure
great conversation. And we will.
I want to thank you for being the first guest on the Hospitalitarian podcast. And I'm really a big fan of Utica Coffee and of yours, and glad to call. The best part is that we became friends, and
it's an honor, my friend.
Neighbors.
It's an honor, my friend.
So thanks for joining us. Again, I'm Tim Hardiman. This is the Hospitalitarian podcast. You can find us anywhere you find your socials, including YouTube. Check us out at thehospitalitarianpod.com. Thank you very much.
While the Hospitalitarian podcast is rooted in the Mohawk Valley, we celebrate the whole of hospitality in the Empire State. The Hospitalitarian is recorded at MVCC's Thinkubator and produced by Ryan Miller at Rust Belt Studios in Utica. Theme music by Nashua Robb.